I don't know if y'all can hear the music, but I got the music bumping. Last I heard, I had a setting off and I cannot figure out which one it is. So I'm going to try to get these settings right, but that's not going to stop the conversation. What's going on, family? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, let me know. Coming to you with some thoughts that are on my mind. I base these podcasts off of real conversations that I have with real people, not just some random stuff I see online or something that is a figment of my imagination. I base the conversations that I bring to you off real discussions that I've had with people. And a lot of these conversations are with the ladies. I have a lot of female friends who want relationships. They want relationships that will lead to marriage and permanency and family and that lifetime partner, somebody you can wear the matching pajamas with on Christmas, somebody you can go on those vacations with, share your successes, have as your support system, especially during times of challenge. But not enough of my lady friends or ladies that I know are getting the type of relationships that they want. So that brings us to tonight's topic: getting on a man's program. Now, I've heard some interesting rebuttals to this discussion, but when I peel back the onion and ask additional questions, most of those pushbacks and rebuttals I get about a woman getting on a man's program fall apart. So, let me share some thoughts with you about this topic. Let us know where you're watching from. Give us a shout out in the comment section. Please, on YouTube, the channel is Framly Talk. You can find these discussions there. These videos will stay there. Facebook does take them down after a while. So I'm asking that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Framly Talk, Framily Talk, two separate words. We also have a Facebook page, Framly Talk. Give this video a like. Feel free to share it with those who may benefit. What's going on, girl? I see my Busha out there in Chi-Town. Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me. Took me a while to get the settings back right. Don't know what changed the other day, but I had to fight with them. Okay. I hold no qualms with what a woman says she wants in a man. I think every woman should be able to describe what type of man she wants in great detail. And let me be clear, whatever that type of man it is that you want, I want you to get that type of man. But you have to be able to describe what type of man it is you want. And one of the things I noticed is my lady friends are not typically good at describing what type of man you want. General platitudes come out. I want a good man. I want a family man. I want a man who can provide. those things are just broad platitudes. So when I have these conversations with people, hey Sarah, I see you out there. When I hear those broad platitudes, I ask people to dig into those and describe in detail, what does that look like on a daily basis? You want a supportive man. When they say, I want a man who's family oriented. Okay, what does that look like on a daily basis? Do you want a man who will be okay with being integrated into your family? Do you want to be integrated into his family? What does that actually mean? Do you want to be able to spend Christmas or the holidays with family members? You got to be able to describe what those things mean, so you and a person, potential mate, will know if you are compatible. One of the terms that I hear get thrown out a lot, I hear ladies say, I want a man who is a provider. Okay, what does that look like? Does that mean he pays 100% of the family financial expenses, to include vacations, savings, things like that? Does that mean your paycheck, if you have one, only goes for taking care of maybe things with the kids or maybe savings? Or does that mean you don't work at all and you are strictly taking care of the family? Whatever that may be able to describe that up front. This can save you a lot of wasted dates. Some of these conversations should even happen before the first date, because if you and a person are incompatible, don't waste your time or that other person's time. Know what you want, be able to communicate what you want, and have the conversation. It's okay to have these conversations before you jump straight into meeting a person out for drinks or for dinner or something like that. If you know what you want, you can communicate it. You should be able to communicate it, and you should find out if that person can offer what you're interested in. I'm not saying everybody's going to lay their cards on the table up front, but I think it's a good policy. So, one of the things that I've heard is, especially once a woman gets a little bit older, if a woman is younger, let's say in her 20s, and getting married, typically you can build a life plan with a man. However, for my ladies who have found themselves, for whatever reason, to be, let's say, in their late 40s or 50s and now dating and looking for a significant other, sometimes you all have very good ideas on what you want your life to look like. And that's fine. I hold no issue with that. I want you to get whatever it is you want. But sometimes there are barriers. And sometimes, ladies, it is you who create those barriers. Let's be clear about something. I'm not scolding. I am teaching and talking from a position of love, because I want to see you get what you want. Now, some of the challenges that I've heard from ladies is, I want this, 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 and this. But quite often when I hear these conversations happen, the ladies don't talk about what the man will get from it. They talk about what they want and what they are going to get. But rarely do I hear them offer what a man is going to get in return. Let me tell you about a scenario that I experienced with someone having a conversation about. And the young lady was a mother of two children. There were two different fathers. She had never been married, but she did want to get married. She's now over 40 and in her career. Great. Got no problems with that. And she described the type of man that she wanted. She wanted what I hear most women describe that they want. They want a man who's mature. They want a man who's in his career, who's following his purpose. They want to be a support system to a man. They want a man who's a provider. They want these things. Again, I have no issue with what people say you want. But here was a challenge this lady's situation presented. Because she had two children by two different men, she lived in a particular major city in the US. The problem is, she said because she had children and their fathers lived in her current city, she would never, and these are her words, she would never leave that city. Okay, here's where the problem comes in. If you meet a man who is in his career and he is chasing his dreams, and you want to be that support system to him, because depending on how you perceive life, a woman's job is to be a man's helpmate, especially if you want the type of man that I hear a lot of women describe, including being a provider. Okay, great. That man is going to need a woman who is supportive of his career. Because this particular young lady said that she would never leave the city that she was in, and granted, it was a major metropolitan city, but she said she would never leave that city she is in. And I had to have a conversation with her, and I said, so what you're saying is, let's just put me in that man's place. If I have got a great job opportunity somewhere that is outside of that city, I'm currently working in that city, but I've got a great promotion opportunity that will do great things for my career and be beneficial to our family. Because you already have children with two other men and you don't want to take those kids away from their father, that now limits what I can do for my family if me and that woman were to get together. So I've got a great opportunity across the country. And now you've laid down the marker and said, well, I can't leave this state. Again, that should be an early conversation. That you don't want to leave that city because you don't want to take the kids away from their father. But the kids live in the household that I will be the head of. I now have to live my life and limit my career opportunities based on the children and the father that you bring to this relationship. You weren't married to those men. They were just, I hate to say it, your baby daddies. But now the life I want to build for my family that I've always envisioned, I can't follow through on, because if I have a career opportunity outside of the city, you laid down the marker and said, you will not leave the city. That is a problem. I'm not saying you shouldn't disregard your ex, your baby daddies. However, I want you to think about something. When a man is dating a woman with children, a quick retort that I always hear from women is, it's a package deal. It's me and my kids. Well, you need to look at this from the man's perspective. And I'm trying to be that man who is non-threatening to share with you a man's perspective, because quite often what I find is women don't view things from a man's perspective. If I am going to date a woman who has two kids from two different men, I am now in a relationship with the woman, the two kids, and the two baby daddies. So now I have to manage a relationship with 5 different personalities and 5 different sets of needs and 5 different sets of wants. So yes, it is a package deal. I understand kids are going to be there, but I need women to understand that you are asking a man to get into a relationship with you and your 5 kids, you and 4 other people, you, the 2 kids, and the 2 baby daddies. That's 5 people that this man has to manage a relationship with. So if this man says, great, I want to be the husband that you want. What up, brother-in-law? I see you out there. If I want to be the husband that you want, I want to be the male influence in these children's lives that is in the home with them. I'm going to pay for being that man, because in some cases, the fathers were not even paying child support. So now, as a man, I've got to fund those kids. I've got to make sure they have college paid for. I've got to make sure they have a good roof over their head. I've got to make sure they have extracurricular activities. Whatever the case may be, I need women to sometimes consider the man's perspective. That's 5 people he's in a relationship with, just to be in a relationship with you. Your personality, the 2 kids, and the 2 baby daddies. I'm not criticizing about the baby daddies. I'm not making any judgment about that. But I do need you to see the connection that from a man's perspective, that is the deal he has to make. And if you want this man to be the type of man you want, there may need to be some compromises. And I hear women quickly say, and they push back on me and go, I'm not going to settle. That word needs to disappear from a dating relationship vocabulary. And notice that term was gender neutral. I didn't say men or women. That term needs to disappear from the dating vocabulary. A man entering that situation with this woman who has 2 kids, he has to settle himself, if you want to use that term, which I recommend you don't. But you're saying you don't want to settle. But he's saying, I have to limit my career opportunities to what I can do here locally because you're unwilling to move. Everybody has to make some type of concessions. You have to be realistic. You have to be upfront in your negotiations. That's something that if you know you're not leaving that city, then that's something that needs to happen. You need to make that conversation needs to happen early. So I'm not telling you not to look for a man and ask for everything you want, but I need you to understand that most of the women who I talk to, the type of man they say they want, which is not an average man, it is a above average man. And when I say above average, let's start with salary. The average salary for a white male, the last time I looked, was $60 something thousand. A black male salary is going to be at least $10,000 lower than that. A Hispanic salary may be even lower than that. A Hispanic male salary may even be lower than that. So when I hear these, well, a man needs to make at least $75,000, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. Not in personal conversations, but I have seen on dating shows that I watch where women will regularly say a man needs to make $200,000. That's above average. That type of man who is that competitive in life to make that type of salary, he is going to look for a woman to get on his program. And if you're going to be that woman, then you've got to be willing to get on that man's program to get what you want. Or you may have to make some compromises in some other areas. And maybe that might mean, if you're educated, maybe that may mean you are the one who makes a higher salary. But most of the women I talk to don't want that. They don't want to make more money than their significant other. They want that man's salary to be higher than theirs. And I am okay if that's what you want, but understand what goes along with the type of man you want. I am normally really specific about limiting these examples to real world people that I know. Now I'm going to reflect something that I've seen in the hundreds and hundreds of dating shows that I've seen, or these dating interviews that I've seen online. Quite often, the dating host will ask them, have you ever dated this man that you have described? And most of them will tell you no. You've never dated that type of man. Or many of them, their ego won't let them say no. They'll go, oh, I've dated that type of man, on a regular basis. Okay, then why can't you secure a relationship with these men that you say you're around all the time in your workplace? If they're not checking for you, they're not options. Or you'll say or I hear them say I'm around these type of men all the time, but they're married. Okay, then they're not options. Are those men trying to marry you? If they're not options. Oh, well, I've dated those men. We went out. Okay, but are they just trying to clap some cheeks? Let's just be honest. If they're not trying to marry you, then these men typically aren't even in your orbit then. So at some point, there may need to be a compromise made. Make a deal with somebody. Too many people I know, ladies, are over 50 years old and find themselves looking, they're over 40 years old and find themselves looking for a relationship. And they say they won't settle because they know their worth and all these other platitudes. At the end of the day, find somebody and make a deal. Get out the dating pool. And I know you don't like it in a dating pool because you constantly tell me there's piss in the dating pool. When people say that, I kind of remind them you are part of the dating pool. So I do want everybody to get what they want. Be clear about what it is you want, but understand there is another person attached to your desires, and someone else has to be okay with what you want. If you're the person who says, I'm going to get it all or nothing, and I'm okay being by myself, go for it. That is your right. That is your position to not settle. You have that right. But understand there is a consequence to that. I just think life is better when you got a set of warm thighs next to you in the bed when you roll over at night. I think life is better when you can go on a vacation with your significant other and have a great time. Girls' trips are nice, but I think a family vacation has its merits also. I think there is value to having a person who will sit at the doctor's office with you when you're not feeling well. I think there is value to having a significant other at home to bring you soup when you're not feeling well. Even if you just gonna lay your head in their lap and they just rub your head. I think there's value to that. If your position is I'm not going to negotiate, I am not going to settle, I am not going to compromise, okay, but be willing to live with the consequences and understand what you're agreeing to. And if you're okay with those terms, so be it. But if you want to make life work with someone, find the best alternative. It's called BATNA, best alternative to negotiated agreement. BATNA. Find somebody you can make an agreement with and make the best out of life. I want to see everybody happy. I want to see everybody get the type of relationships that they want. But remember, there is another person attached to the relationship that you say you want. Again, the challenge with that is when I ask women about what their relationship looks like, it's always one sided about what they want out of a man, out of a relationship. But rarely do I hear people talk about, well, I want a man so I can do this, so I can be his support system. I want a man so I can have someone to care for. I'm a person, I need people to care for. People in my life, and some of you all are on this stream watching right now live. You know, I like taking care of people. That's important to me. That's a part of my core personality. Just understand whatever agreement you're making or whatever terms you're putting down as your non-negotiables, there's another person on the side of there. I am okay with non-negotiables as well. I couldn't tolerate a woman who smoked. I've been with my wife decades. If she came home today and said, you know what, I've decided I'm going to smoke cigarettes and cigars, that's going to be my new thing, that's not going to work for me. I will have to love you from afar as we break up. because I can't stand the smell of cigarettes. I think it's one of the most disgusting habits, but that's just me personally. So that for me is a non-negotiable. But some other things, yeah, I've had to compromise on. So, ladies, understand the type of man that you say you want. And this podcast is about me trying to help ladies understand the other person on the other side of this relationship. Too many ladies I talk to, when I ask them the question, do you have a male in your life that you can talk to about relationships? Somebody who's not trying to fuck you, somebody who's going to give you unbiased, objective, non-emotional advice. And too often that answer is no. There needs to be a male in your life, father, uncle, brother, cousin, godparent, male mentor, somebody, ladies, that you can, a mature person, especially one who's married, if you want to be married, who can give you advice about dating and marriage relationships. I'm going to approach a sacred cow here and stick a knife in it. Too often, especially with women of color, one of the things I hear is, oh, I need a man after God's own heart. You are asking for something unrealistic. We can't even agree on the interpretation of God's own heart. We got all these different versions of the Bible. We've got all these different denominations of Christianity. That's too broad. That's why I always ask the question in detail. What does that look like on a daily basis to get away from broad platitudes? If you want the type of provider, what some people describe as an alpha male, I don't like that term, but what most people in society describe as that alpha male, dominant male on his purpose, on his grind, ladies, you are going to have to be willing to get on his program. That is just what those type of men want. If you are not willing to do that, if you are not willing to be a support system, if you are not willing to be submissive to that type of man, then there are other men out there for you. But understand, by not being willing to sign up for that, you are typically relegating yourself away from the type of men that you say you want. You don't get to lay down the marker and say, I'm only going to offer this, 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 and this, but I still require a man who's up here at the top. It doesn't work that way. No one is willing to tell you that because they're always trying to fuck you, or they're trying to get in your panties. They want some head, whatever the case may be. I am telling you that there have to be consequences and trade-offs. Life is full of consequences and trade-offs. In the example that I gave you with the young lady who said she would never leave the area she lived in because her children's father lived there. Okay, you made 2 babies out of wedlock. Those come with consequences. You may not be able to get the type of man you want if you're unwilling to move away from those children's father, or simply having those kids may not get you the type of man you want, because that man may want to make his own family. That man may have a judgment about a woman who has multiple kids by multiple baby daddies who was never married. Same thing with a man. A friend of mine went out with a guy. He told her he had 5 kids or 8 kids. I can't remember what the number was. She immediately X'd him out. I get it. I would have X'd him out too. If my sister came to me, if my daughter came to me, if one of my female friends came to me, and that man said, oh, I've got 5 kids, 5, 4, 3 baby mamas, I've never been married to them. That's probably not the type of man that you say you want. So understand consequences and trade-offs. If you've built a career and you're unwilling to have more children because you physically can have more children, but you don't want to interrupt your career, okay, fine. But understand there are trade-offs. If you chose to have children earlier in life And now you have children and you're looking for a mate who will accept you and those children. And remember, it's not just you and the children. In the example I gave you earlier, it was the woman, she had 2 children, and she had 2 baby daddies. As a man, that man has to be willing to be in a relationship with all 5 people. That comes with consequences and trade-offs. So just understand that. Find a male mentor that you can talk to. Ladies, to get what you want. And remember, everything I talk about is trying to help you get the things you say you want out of a relationship, to even get in a relationship in many cases. I want you to get what you want. That's the purpose of me doing these podcasts, to help you get what you want. I'm going to ask that you like this video. I'm going to ask that you share it with some people. Hopefully it can help somebody, because that is my purpose. I am not here to make anyone feel bad. I'm not here to hurt any feelings. But the motto of this podcast is facts don't care about your feelings. It's better to get the truth and have someone share the honest perspective so you can make an informed decision off of that honest perspective. I'm going to ask that you go out and like the Facebook page, Family Talk. I have to get more subscribers to that page. Doesn't cost a thing. That way I can live stream to that page as well. Right now, Facebook has me limited. Go to the YouTube channel, Family Talk. If you want me to send you the link, drop me a DM and I will make sure you have the link. These videos reside on YouTube. Family, I love you. I wish you the best. I want to see you get what you want out of life. It is 2026. Get what you want out of life, especially when it comes to a relationship. Best wishes. I love you guys. Like, share the video. Go out and like the Facebook page, Family Talk. YouTube page, Family Talk. Have a good one. Take care, y'all. For those who are still on, can you hear the music? Drop me a comment in the text, in the comment section. Can you hear the music playing right now? Okay, I got to figure out why the music isn't bumping in your ear like it's bumping in mine. Take care, family. Love you guys.